Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So today I wanted to break this up a little bit, and it seems like things get a little hectic on YouTube sometimes. So we want to make sure that we can do and share information and not get problems with that. So let me see if I got some live chatters here. All right, we got some live chat. All right, very good. Hey guys. So what is going on in the world according to the way I'm seeing things? So this is what this talk is going to be about. How I see things moving as a former Navy SEAL. How I would deal with situation as a former CIA security contractor. So for 35 years I've been in this realm of I was thinking outside the box. I did amazing things in my career, and I had some good experiences. I also have been working with people in this intuitive realm for more than a decade. So it's been very good. It's had a lot of insights that I've gathered over the years that I've basically was seeing things well before they happen. So let me give you an example. I would see attacks happening sometimes up to a week before they happen. And then I was basically directing teams, where to go and so forth. I've been doing kind of the same thing here in the current environment that we're in. I saw that, Trump looked like he was going to win. I think we did. We saw a landslide there, but it wasn't accepted in other realms. So that wasn't something that, many of us saw, but we do see things clearly in some other areas, eventually a very beautiful environment in the future. But in the meantime, up to that point, there's this radical awakening process that's going to happen. So I know a lot of people are very uncomfortable with, thinking that things might not go perfect in their lives, because, like we saw with this last lockdown process, it was really tough for everybody. Now, I think that the next round, which possibly could be coming soon, of lockdowns, of mandatory, things that go in your arm, all of these things, that could be, a major problem going forward. So if you're not allowed to go to the store and get food because you're not, you haven't fulfilled a mandatory passport type thing, that's going to be very problematic, I think, for a lot of people. And it's going to depend on where you're at. So if you're in a very liberal state, I believe, that's going to be a big problem going forward. Now, I've talked about how the big cities were going to be massive problem areas going into the future. And I talked about this over a year ago. I said, if you're in a big city, get out. And that goes for, anywhere in the world. We look at Australia right now in Sydney. Basically, we have a massive police presence and now military presence in Sydney. Now, what is that going to eventually result in? So a lot of people have seen, the future, and they talked about it quite a long time ago, where they saw camps where people were taken because they weren't doing specific things. Right. So you're gonna hear me talk around some stuff, but that's the way it's got to be. If we go back in time during World War II, we know that these camps existed back there and during that time frame in certain countries. Right. So if you fast forward to today, you would be like, well, that's not possible for that to exist. It's not possible that exists. Well, if you do go to China, as we know, those camps do exist. Right. So, when you start to put things together and you start to put together that it seems to be the current administration seems to be really big pals with that country that has those camps. Okay, you guys see where I'm going with this? All right, so those camps, could be implemented at any time. They just have to, say it. Just like they said that, there were, problems that were happening as far as like, things, that make you sick. And we found out that the detection device for that was quite flawed. In fact, I just watched a gentleman that was calling around trying to find information on that one particular variant that seems to be out right now. No one could test for it, even though they're saying that it's exploding everywhere. But everywhere he called some. I watched the show. The White House, said the experts are saying it. We don't do the study. We don't do the testing. We don't do the studies. The experts are telling us. The scientists are telling us. So it's the same thing with if you're calling around, if you want to go to, CVS where they test, or wherever you want to go to test. If you want to go to the hospital, your doctor, none of them seem to have a test kit for the variant. So how is it that this variant is exploding? So this variant probably is going to be the thing that they use to lock everything down. Now, once that lockdown happens, I believe that it's going to be approved. And they've been talking about, excuse me, how in early September, the test trial for those things that go in your arm are basically will be done. And they're probably going to say that it's good to go. All right. Even though there's overwhelming evidence that it's quite bad. All right. So they're basically ignoring too, all the information that's coming through that points to this is something that should not be still on the market, but yet here it is. It's going to be forced on people, and possibly if you do not accept the forced mandatory stuff, then you could be put in camps, right? So like I said, there's been a lot of people that have said that's a possibility in the future. And they've said this in the far past. I think like a decade ago, there were people that were talking about how they saw in the future, maybe even longer ago than that. I saw some of these people and it looked like it was back in the like 80s or 90s. And they were talking about how they saw in the future that there was camps, they had Christians and so forth in it. Now you're like, well, that would be impossible. How could they have, Christians in camps? This country is basically, that's the foundation, that's the bedrock of this country. Well, same thing. You look at the communist country that has, all different religions, Muslims, Christians, and others that are in concentration camps. And it's pretty obvious what's going on. Now, some of these concentration camps seem to be where they gather body parts or, organs and stuff like that. So that's been in the news too. In fact, I'm going to have a gentleman come on one of my shows here in the not too distant future and talk about some of that. So it does seem that, they're doing that. We know that the border is wide open, and we know that, up to 13% of those people coming over are infected, or so says the test that they're using. And, but yet they're keeping that border open, but yet the border is closed to anyone that is not have that thing in their arm. So if you don't have the thing in the arm, you can't come to our country and you can't come over our border, yet they're having a border wide open. So I would suggest that maybe the people that want to come to this country just come across the border, this other border, just come across, pay somebody, get your cross, and you're good to go. So there's interesting things afoot. What's happening with those people that are coming across? Are they having their organs harvested? Are the children that seems to be going out on massive buses and vans and so forth with no documentation, nothing to track them? Where are they going? And then, the young men, all those young men that are being shipped out, where are they going? Are they going to some places where they're being trained? So there's lots of questions about all that, because it seems like 1 million people have already come across the border so far this year. So that's a massive number, and it doesn't seem like that it would be sustainable. So the federal government is not, paying for those people. They're basically just dumping them in the states, and then the states have to take care of them. So that's a massive drain on the economies of the states, who are already extremely taxed by the pandemic. So why are they doing that? Why are they emptying the jails with violent criminals into the streets? Why are there, all these laws that are coming down, which basically, I just heard the recent one was where there cannot be an audit. If there is an audit, then whoever is planning an audit, an election audit, then they can be fined $1,000 and thrown in prison for a year. So we're seeing a pretty much all the signs are pointing to this massive lockdown. So I don't think so. This is the way I look at this as a former military guy, super high levels, and former CIA and so forth. When I look at all that and I piece it together, I think there's going to be some states that do this and do it very vigorously, right? To the point where people in the big cities. So one of the reasons why I say get out of the big cities is because I think the big cities will be locked down, right? And then they'll start to systematically find the people that are not like them, right? Not abiding by what they want, right? And then they'll be shipped somewhere, just like they were, and just like they are now. They were shipped during World War II, and they're being shipped right now in a communist country. That, I believe, is going to happen here. I mean, this is just me having my ideas. I'm throwing them out there. This is kind of what I see on the landscape, the way things are shaping up, guys. So I know a lot of people think that someone's going to come along and stop this and save this. Maybe. Let's hope and pray that happens. But in the meantime, you have to plan for worst case scenario. If you are in a big city, so this is not a fear mongering thing. If you're in fear, if this is causing fear in you, maybe you should stop watching. All right. So that's not my intention. My intention is to inform. So then you can look at the landscape yourself and make your own best, judgments and opinions. Now, even though some of you may see some of the stuff that I'm talking about in your own, states or communities or whatever, you still might stick it out. All right. You still might not take my advice and get out of a big city. So I know there's a lot of people that did take my advice, and then there's still a lot that didn't. All right. So as this squeeze continues, I think we're going to see this thing pop pretty soon. So why would they do it sooner rather than later? Well, two of their top guys, that would be the governor of California and the governor of New York, are under extreme pressure. So they would lose those major cities, those major states, and then the cities that are within them, to probably right-thinking people, right? So once that's done, they're going to lose two of the biggest states there are, right? So they won't be able to do this lockdown thing very effectively, because it will be states that are going to get the memo and they abide by the memo. So where's that? That's not in Texas. That's not in Florida. That's not in Nebraska. That's not in some of these other states, South Dakota, North Dakota. So you name your state, and then you can probably easily name the states that will, abide by this coming potentially lockdown, and then further, even more negative measures taken against people that are in their states. All right. So we're already seeing those measures taken by corporations like United Airline has made it mandatory. And then and they're putting pressure on the other airlines to make it mandatory. So lots of mandatory stuff going on. Some states like New York and some states like California are already implementing passport type stuff, right? So when I see all these things, I'm like, okay, it's an easy next step for them, because there hasn't been a pushback on that yet. Once they push and they're not pushed back on, they push harder again, right? They give a little bit of a break, They test the environment, see the reaction, and then they push again, right? It could be little steps, and then it could be a massive push. So I really think that they're in desperate times right now. They see that a lot of people are waking up to all of the things that they've been putting out that don't seem to be quite right, and actually aren't adding up. They're tired of a lot of stuff. I think that once they do implement that mandatory and that lockdown and so forth, that a lot of people would take to the streets. And I think that's when they'll start, just like they did on January 6th, false flag events. All right. So they'll have false flag events, and that'll be the way that they basically lock a city down. All right. They'll lock cities down based off of a false narrative, based off a false flag event, and so forth. So once those cities are locked down, it's not going to be good for the people that are in them, right? So at some point, if this thing turns around, which I think that if people are in the outside of the city environment, they can form, and make good decisions and form groups and so forth. I think you guys can see where I might be going with that. But that's the thing that I've seen actually. I think that's very strong on the timeline. So I saw that a long time ago. I talked about it, and I was like, how is that gonna fulfill itself? And now we're starting to see the different things that are coming forth, right? So I know a lot of people think that if you pray and you have faith, that everything's going to work out good for you. So how's that working out for the people in China right now? All right, they're having their organs harvested in these camps, right? So you have to start looking at a bigger picture. Worst case scenario, guys. I'm giving you worst case scenario. So this is the way my military mind works. My intel gathering mind works. The things that I've looked at, I think you need to have a good plan. So if some of these states do lock down, you need to have a go plan. You need to have a plan to not just go to the countryside, but maybe get completely out of that state, because that state the whole state itself might have all the roads into it locked down so that no one leaves and no one comes in unless they have that passport, right? So that's the thing that I see as a possibility going forward. And I see that not just here in the US, but also in other countries, right? So we see it just about implemented, possibly implemented in Sydney, Australia right now. So it's very, very, very close. I think that if they start to, like me, if I talk about this and then someone else comes out with, corroborating information, other people talk about it, other people say, Mike, I think you're on the right track, then that's kind of a sign for you. So I'm kind of like on the edge on this. I'm pushing the edge really hard. I don't think it's far-fetched. I think if you guys look around, you'll see that there are some problems, and they could quickly escalate into major problems just with a little pinstripe, or mark of the pin. So these guys are there. They're right there. They've been at this for a long time. It's come to a head for them. They know they have to move because the reveals are coming very, very quickly. So that they're going to get desperate right now. Or we've always known this desperation moment was going to come, right? So that doesn't mean that when the good guys come in, that everything's cool. Because like I said, I believe that they're going to implement something, and that's going to eventually be the trigger. But there's going to be pain before that happens. And even though that trigger happens and people come in and start to make a move, although it can happen very quickly, there can still be pockets of resistance that last for a long time, right? And especially for you guys around the world, right? So if it gets cleaned in America, that's a cleaning process. How long is that going to take? It's going to take months. It's going to take years. Look at the last war, World War. How long? Because this is a world war. How long did that one last? Years, right? Many years. So the Blitzkrieg came in, I think, in what was it, 37, 38, 39, somewhere around in there. Well, definitely in 39, I remember that. But maybe even before that. So, you know, I forget when Poland fell, but Poland fell, and then it was on and on and on. State or, country after country basically took over all of Europe. And then there was just the one island, the UK island. And now it seems that those guys are kind of hard into this game as well, unfortunately. So there was a thing that I saw many years ago where President Washington, General Washington, had visions, and he saw basically the Revolutionary War, being, won, smoke and fire, and but eventually victory. And then he saw a civil war, and same thing, nation torn apart, but eventually a victory where the nation came together. And then in the future, he saw a third event. That third event was where the entire world came at America. And that, it would be very tragic, but eventually America would win. So what, was that a prophecy? Did the angel really show that to Washington, or is that just a myth? They make these things up sometimes. Well, you kind of look at the environment and you see things are kind of shaping up that way. That there were a lot of countries that were involved in the last, election. A lot of countries were involved in that election, and that was basically, in my opinion, it was a coup. All right. So our country has been taken by foreign forces. So it's going to be, a battle to get it back. And that's the way it's been for a long time. The landscape has been taken over. Can it be won back? All right. So a lot of us think that it's going to be won back, and it's being, things are happening behind the scenes, but there is going to be that last little push. And it might be a long push. It might be a last long push, depending on, how much resistance there is, because you never know what's going to come, what will happen, and so forth. So I would say, just have a worst case scenario plan. What's the worst that could happen? Start to think about that. Just think along those lines. That's what, us military CIA guys do. We look at the worst case scenario. So from the worst case scenario, you plan. So for us, like, for instance, we had what's called a go bag. So within that go bag were tourniquets and blood clotting agents. And, we could, if somebody got shot in the lung and there was a collapsed lung, we had, our kits, had stuff to handle that. You would even have to be able to, take care of yourself. So we learned how to put tourniquets on ourselves. So sounds like, wow, worst case scenario stuff, right? So that's kind of what's happening right now for America. I think we're moving into worst case scenario realms. So do you want to just blame people and be angry? That's not going to help you. It's not going to help you going forward, because you have to be open-minded. You have to be intuitive, like I teach, to be able to handle this information. If you're angry, then you will fail. So everyone that I saw that was angry and fearful in combat zones, if they didn't remove themselves out very quickly, they kept coming back angry and fearful. Almost every one of those guys are dead. Without exception, all those guys are dead. I would see them, other people would see them, and if they tried to come into our groups, we either squared them away so that they didn't stay in that kind of thought patterns, or we got them out of our groups. Right. So that's where you guys need to go. You need to not be fearful. You need to think. You need to think outside the box. You need to have a go bag and a go plan. I've always had a go bag, like before I started the CIA, I talked to my families. So we always had, Mike always was a prepper. I've been a prepper for a long time. But that doesn't mean that, I'm going to hunker down with all my stuff. If I have to, I'll leave it all behind and I'm gone. I'll go on foot. I'll go without anything and I will get what I need. Right. So you have to think like that as well. You can't think like, well, I'm going to hunker down in my home. I have everything I need. I'm going to be good. I'm way out in the boonies. I'm off the grid, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I think that even people that are way out in the boonies off the grid, you guys eventually, if this goes down, it goes bad, they'll eventually be coming for you as well. So everyone needs a plan. Everyone needs to be able to move in a moment's notice, and you need to be able to think on the move, gather together with others and work together with others. The teamwork going forward is going to be very important. Now, will this stuff happen? I give it, unfortunately, a fairly good chance. Right? I give it a fairly good chance from what I'm seeing. Now, do I want it? Do I want to be right? I absolutely hope that I'm wrong. And I always thought that way when I told people this is what I see coming. Now, eventually I get to the point where, I could control those environments through influence. America and the world's not there yet. Right. I can't control the whole world and the whole US. I can control a little piece at a time, but that's it. So there's not enough of us right now that can make this different. So it's going to get ugly. I believe it's already ugly, right? It's already beyond ugly. No one ever thought the world would be like this, but it is. It's here. Here we are in a very bad situation. So as we move forward, it's going to be good, right? It's going to be good, but there is going to be a very tough little. I mean, think about World War II. I mean, the whole world. It was tough for the whole world for years, and eventually it turned. And then we became, the world became a magnificent place. I think that once we settle this thing and once we overcome all of the things that are coming, it's going to change America and the world for the better for 1,000 years. All right. So we won't go through this for a very, very long time again. There, who knows, maybe in the future, just kind of like what's happened now, people start to forget and think that, there's no way that could happen. Slavery is a thing of the past, but slavery is the most that it's ever been in history right now. Slavery. That's right. And all the experts are saying that. So and drug use, drug running across our border, all these different things, gangs, violence, all these things are reaching levels that have never been seen before. Violence in the big cities, violence in New York, how quickly New York turned. 6 months ago, New York was like unbelievably fantastic. Everybody wanted to go to New York. Who wants to go to New York now? I definitely don't. There's some brave people that still there. There's some brave people that are going to stick it out. I wish them luck. I hope it works out. I really do. But I wouldn't want to be in a big city, any big city right now. So that's what I wanted to share, just me to you guys, the way that, I think, the way that I see things. There's lots of information out there. You guys can get your own information. You get your own like supplies and stuff like that. Of course, you can get my courses and my gear and stuff like that. And who knows, you might have the Intuitive Warrior shirt and you're running and gunning. Who knows? Could be like that. So I hope it's not like that. But you want to have the best stuff that you can. And some of the best stuff you can have right now is to be intuitive and to understand intuition, whether it's you read that in Unleash an Intuition book and just at least get that, you get that in a lot of different ways. If you read that book, great. Maybe you're ready for more, or maybe you're just good. Maybe you don't have any money. Maybe you're looking at this going, oh boy, I've been there. I know how that feels. It sucks. And I feel for you. And I send my love to you. Stay positive. It's tough, I know, but stay positive, because it could be not having anything might be a good thing going forward, because you're not attached to anything. You just get up and go, and it might come to that. See how this works. So as we move forward, guys, like I said, just stay in that love vibration, and the information that you need will come to you. If you quest for it, if you want to have, like, should I move? Should I stay? Should I stay or should I go now? The song. So just question that. Should I like stock up for blah, 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 however so long? Should I have this much cash? Should I have gold and silver? Because I got all that stuff. But like I said, if I have to go, I'm leaving it all behind. I'm not attached to anything. I'm up and out. If I see things go really bad and it comes at me, like if my neighborhood goes bad, if there's no way I can defend it, then I'm out. And that's the way you guys should be. Don't throw your life away. Get out, get to the country, gather up, get a game plan with people, and then come back and take it back. Right. So it might come to that. I hope it doesn't, but we might see that in the future for some places. Maybe a few places in America, maybe a lot of places in the world, who knows? So if you're not open to that concept, you just dismiss it. If something like this comes, you're screwed, right? So just think about it. Just have a game plan. Just look at it from, a perspective. Well, if that does happen, worst case scenario, this is what I do. All right. I would gather my family together. We'd go to, Granny's house. She lives out the boondock, and we can hunker down there. Yeah, that's good. That's a good plan. That's beautiful. So that's the things you do. You just have a plan. Everyone's on board with it. If it goes down, that mandatories come, and you're not good with the mandatories, and you feel that they're going to lock your city or your state or whatever down, it's time to get out. All right, you got to get out so you can survive to win another day. Right. To win another day, because there will be winning in the future. It might get, like I said, a little ugly. It's already ugly. Might get uglier. How about that? It might get uglier, and because as this stuff is being disclosed, as stuff is being found out that they've done some bad stuff again, that we're basically going to start to push back on it. So that, and I would see that everybody gets the streets. I mean, Democrats, Republicans, independents, we're all in the streets. And like I said, they do a false flag, and then it goes south. Right. So they're ready for that. If you have some good police, you have constitutional sheriffs, they're gold mine people. All right. So, you can collaborate with them, have game plans. The elders of the city, know different things. There's groups that can help each other. I'm not bashing religion, so religions can help. There's good people in those religions. I've been in a lot of those religions, and they're all good in their own way. But some of them, not so much. We know that. So will some of those actually turn against us? Yes. Will some of those sheriffs turn against us? Yes. Given the opportunity, given because they're basically bought and paid for, that's the way it is. Now, you got to ask yourself, are you bought and paid for? If you're given, you got to get this, jabberdo, then and you're like, I gotta have the money. All right, blah 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 blah. I would say look at my last video on Rumble, where I talk about all of that and how the brain is being basically wired, and how it can be the voice of God come in and basically take over. Right. So you guys need to be aware that these things. That's why they're pushing that so hard. And the cities will be where those that will be implemented, and people will be zombie-eyed, right? So gotta get yourself to the point where you're clearing that stuff out of your system. There's detoxing stuff, and that's also in my Rumble video from last night as well. All right, so that's thoughts from Mike. I would say fireside chat, but how about poolside chat for Mike? right? Nice and relaxing. Might be a little stressful for some people, but don't let it stress you. It's knowledge. Knowledge is power. All right. Knowledge is power. And if it doesn't happen that way for you, it might happen around you, but or maybe not at all. I would, we all can hope and pray. I do pray. I do try and put my energy into that, as much as possible. But I'm also a realist. I can see bigger pictures, bigger things happening. There's people actually with bigger brains than I have that have mapped all this out. But the thing I have going for me is my intuition, which is all powerful. I'm tapped into the source. Not only can I look at, what we can do, but also look at what they are doing. That's one of the reasons why I'm bringing this stuff up right now, because I can look at both dark and light, and it doesn't affect me either way. Right? I'm just a neutral source looking at that. All right, guys, lots of love to you. And I wish you all the luck. Wish you all the best. This is not like the last time we'll talk. Hopefully we'll continue these chats. I'll continue sharing information. I'll continue having guests on that share amazing, incredible information. And if there's a hiccup where everything shuts down, there's other venues. I think Telegram is one of the best venues to go to. I always recommend Telegram, having that at least for communication. But if you're forced out of a certain area, maybe a lot of the stuff gets shut down, and we won't know what's going on. Won't have any clue, and then we see fires in the distance or something crazy, or explosions, or who knows, So stay in the low vibration, and whatever happens, because that's what I do. When I used to see things in combat that were like, who would have thought that would have happened? When something like that happens, I just go, I just go right intuitive, and I'm like, okay, we need to do this. It just happens. It happens faster than I can talk about it. I know it happens faster than I can talk about it. All right. And that's where you need to be. All right. Lots of love, guys. And I will chat with you guys